How
Yeah.
is all this playing into everything? The overall role of sleep in anyone's life. I think even as children, as teens, tweens, prior to teenage, and then after that as adults, we all need our sleep, right?
We do. We do. And in fact, overall, we spend about 1/3 of our lives asleep. And that's because sleep is essential. You cannot function without enough sleep. You literally cannot stay alive. At some point, you can function longer without food than you can without your body just falling asleep because
Mm-hmm.
you need sleep. It's a very complex process, I should note. And I am a journalist, not a medical professional, but I've had so many conversations with so many of the researchers who delve into this. So in broad terms, the biggest takeaway is nobody does anything any better as a result of being sleep deprived. So there is not one benefit. And when we don't get enough sleep, it affects literally every aspect of our lives. So for teens, for instance, there's so much in terms of brain development that's going on, which I mentioned, and a lot of that does take place when they're sleeping. When we sleep is also the primary time that growth hormone is released, which is responsible for growth, as you would expect, but it's also essential for healing from injuries and from illness. So it has implications for immunity as well. Getting enough sleep is also what helps keep the two hormones that regulate our feelings of hunger in proper balance, leptin and ghrelin. So when we don't get enough sleep, we are more likely to crave higher fat and higher sugar foods. So chronic sleep deprivation absolutely does play into things like obesity. Sleep is important for cardiac health. It's important from a public safety perspective when you look at sleep deprived drivers on the road and the number of drowsy driving crashes.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, and that's not even getting to the other big one you mentioned, which is mental health, which is huge. Sleep absolutely is intertwined with mental health. When you are sleep deprived, it exacerbates depression, anxiety, suicidality. It intensifies our emotions. When we haven't got enough sleep, we feel things more intensely. And then when you get back to teens versus adults, the difference for us as adults is we've already completed that major phase of brain development that goes on during adolescence. So we have a fully formed prefrontal cortex, which is what's responsible for executive functioning and impulse control and everything associated with that. Whereas for our teens, that process is still in process. So they don't yet have the same breaks, if you will, emotional breaks to temper that increased intensity of emotion that comes from being sleep deprived.
Oh my gosh, I never realized there's so much to it. I just thought it was all habitual and that some of us were inherently early birds and some of us were like, late night owls. And I,
Well, and just to interrupt, that is still true. There is still a wide range of human variability. So it is indeed true that there are some people who are naturally going to gravitate to one end or the other. That being said, though, for the vast majority of us, that range, which again, it's a 2-hour range. For adults, it's 7 to 9 hours of sleep. For teens, it's 8 to 10. So recognizing that the bulk of us really do fall within that range. And yes, there can be outliers on either end, but to recognize that trying to convince yourself that you can get by on less sleep doesn't make it so.